In this video, I will be going over how I did this LS swap in this 91 Suburban square body and showing you guys what I found to work and be the easiest method, and basically how to do it, what you need, kind of. I don't know if I'll go over everything you need, but I'll show you what wiring I did. So I'll catch you guys here in a second. A little rundown on the motor. It's a 6.0 OQ4. It's got a cam, valve springs, push rods, high volume oil pump, headers. Pretty run-of-the-mill, you know, mild setup. The main 5 things you're gonna need is motor, transmission, wiring harness, computer, and fuel pump. Those 5 things will get your LS in there and started up. The harness I chose is a PSI harness, and I have these injector adapters on here because it was EV1, because most harnesses are made for F-body Camaros, and this is not an F-body motor and not an F-body intake with the F-body fuel rails. So these are truck intake and fuel rails from 9902. So I put some new EV6 connectors in there, or injectors with EV6 connectors, so I had to run those adapters. But yeah, I ran a PSI harness with injector adapters and just a factory 6.0 truck computer. And these are also the 9902 fuel rails, and I'll explain right now why I chose these. As you can kind of see right there, those are my 2 fuel lines. You got a feed and return like comes factory on these body styles and on the 9902 Silverados with the 5.3, 4.8, 6.0s. And the reason I chose these, not only because of the fuel feed and return, but it's because of this right here. As you can see right there, it has a little vacuum cap that goes to the intake. That is a fuel pressure regulator on the rails from factory. And the fuel pump I used, since this was a TBI, it had a fuel pump, but it only put out about 12 PSI-ish. I used an 03 Silverado fuel pump just from O'Reilly's AutoZone, your local parts store. Used the factory hard lines to the frame rail where they have disconnect, and then ran I ran compression fittings with barbs on them and ran 3/8 hose, fuel hose, all the way up to the rails. And the reason I went stock Sierra Silverado fuel pump is because of the fuel pressure regulator and not wanting to run a adjustable fuel pressure regulator. But the reason I chose the stock one also is because if you put like a Walbro 450, which is a pretty popular swap, into cammed LSs for some reason, if you run a Walbro 450 and you use that factory fuel pressure regulator, this will overpower that 10 times out of 10. You'll have fuel pressure issues. It'll go high, low, high, low, high, low. It'll be everywhere and you'll never be able to figure it out. Just run the factory pump. It's more than enough for a very mild setup like this one here. Ran LS swap square body headers, although those ones, I'm not a big fan of these. They hug the block a little bit closer than I'd like for them to, but they work. Moved this battery. This tray was already here because somebody has already installed the tray over there, and this thing is very lowered. So they've already took out the fender wells on both sides, so had to make do with what we had there. But I moved the battery over here so that I could run factory 9906 battery cables. Just some simple things up. You'll have your alternator right here, this box, and it runs all the way down to the starter. It'll hug the block. It goes everywhere it needs to. It'll look factory. Just going off stuff I can see here, your throttle cable. Factory 9902 throttle cable, because cable throttle body. You'll have to make an adjustment to your throttle cable bracket. I just cut mine, figured out where it needed to be, hold tension on it with, you know, not pulling on throttle body, but got all the slack out of it, tack welded it, and then finish welded it up, and it works like a dream, and it connects to the pedal, just like the factory. But a lot of y'all are probably wondering, where's the computer at? Because you don't see it in here. It's exactly what I wanted to. Because I tried to hide the harness the best I can. As you can tell, you can't really see much of the harness except where it runs back there. But there's the factory harness. I cut that one down, thinned it out, just kept the sensors I needed because this one still has AC. As you can see, kept the AC oil pressure sending unit because it's the same as 9902 Silverado. And all the grounds off that stuff and the power wires because you're going to need all that stuff. But you can get rid of all the other sensors that you will not be using. But you can see my harness runs down, runs right in there. Have a grommet in here. And in here, as you can tell, it's kind of dark, I'm sorry. There's an LS computer right there. There's really no good spot to mount it. But I got the LS computer right there. Open the glove box, OBD2 port, and your fuel pump relay, ignition relay, and all the fuses for your standalone right here. But it's all hidden, and I like it. It looks good. I'm pretty proud of this. Factory 99 to like 04 clutch fan for the LS water pump. And you can use the factory radiator. This is a new factory radiator with the factory shrouds. It will fit. I've made this cold air intake. This is just 4-inch exhaust pipe. You can kind of do what you want with that, but there's very limited room. I'm gonna get this thing in the air and show you guys what I did underneath for the transmission. While I lift it up and I'll see it, you can use factory Silverado lower radiator hose and upper radiator hose too. Just for, so you guys see that. Okay, underneath it now, factory shift linkage, okay? But let me go in a little bit more detail for you. This bracket right here that goes on the shift selector rod is factory from the 700R4 that was in this, along with the shifting rod. What I had to do was I had to extend this. You can kind of see, actually you can't because I'm that good, but I had to add on about 2 or 3 inches onto this because this 480 is a little bit longer than the 700R4. So I had to extend this and then figure out where it needed to be to make everything line up in the cab on the Prindle. My motor mount conversion plates are from ICT Billet, and they use the factory 350 Chevy clamshells, I've heard some people call them, and they go right to the mount on the Crossmember. Transmission cooling lines run right here. They go up, they hide in the frame rail. They come up, come down, and they go to a True Cool 40K. You can kind of see it right there. Good transmission cooler, one of the best ones on the market. Crossmember, factory from the 700R4. You just move them back. You can tell the old mount point used to be about right here. Just move them back to where it's good and straighten up your crossmember, drill new holes in the frame, bolts right up, bada bing, bada boom. Moving on to the drive shaft. This is factory drive shaft, 2-piece drive shaft with carry bearing. I took it to a local shop, measured it out on the ground, told them where I needed it. They rewelded it up for me. Looks good, it works. Fuel lines go from the tank, like I said, they run down, new filter. This is the feed, and it runs across the frame rail. And right here, it unbolted right here. And these right here go up to my rail. These are the compressor fittings I was talking about. So as you remember, my LS swap fuse box and relays were in the glove box, factory one. Moving on down here to the factory fuse box location. As you can see, that red wire right there where it says ignition, the pink one's the factory. I put a red one in there and ran my wires all the way up under the dash, come down. So that is tied into my factory ignition switch on the key. This wire right here that you can see, this purple one, this is torque converter clutch. I gotta tap it into the brake pedal. I've yet to do that yet, but I will find which one is hot when I hit the brake and it'll go to that. But if you keep all your hots, the factory voltage gauge works, the oil pressure works, and I've made my coolant temp sensor work too. The only one that don't work is my speedometer, but customer plans on going digital gauges after the swap's done, so they have a whole bundle of wires over there ready to go to it. But yeah, this is how I did the LS swap on this 91 Suburban. You guys let me know how it looks, obviously, and what you guys think of how I did it. I feel as if I did a pretty above average job. Thank you guys for watching.